Hello everyone, this is Malki Assad and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to go over the submission process and we'll take the annals of surgery as an example. Journals vary in the details of the submission, but they generally follow similar outline. So we'll start by typing the name of the journal in Google and then you can open the journal website. After that, sometimes you can find the submit manuscript here on the right. As I said, journals vary, but you might find that generally under for authors. So always before you submit an article, check the information is for authors. Because sometimes they ask you for specific structure of the manuscript, and you want to make sure that you follow that outline before submission. Because otherwise they will ask you to rewrite the manuscript and format it according to the journal outline. So I always recommend reading the instructions and guidelines. So let's have a quick look of how these guidelines look like. If you scroll down, you'd find several types of articles. So find the article that your article fits under and then read the outlines for that. So for example, here they tell you that the word limit is 3,500 words. So you shouldn't go over that. The abstract is generally 250 words. Again, some journals have 300, 350. So just make sure that you're following what the journal wants in the article. The references, for example, they have a limit here. Some journals don't have a limit. Tables and figures, they have only maximum of 7. If we scroll down again, we can see what the manuscript components are. So some journals require you to submit a cover letter, and we'll go over that now. The title page, mini abstract, structured abstract. The references are very important because journals vary in how the reference style is. The tables and figures. Sometimes they ask you to put the tables in a separate file. Just familiarize yourself with that, make sure that you read it and that your article fits within the criteria they want and the requirement they want. So again, let's go back to the information for authors. Usually you can find submit a manuscript under information for authors. So let's go to the editorial manager of the journal. I will click on login. I already have an account with the journal. If you don't have an account, you have to register. You'll provide your name, your address, the phone, the institution, and what your research interests are. After that, they will give you a username and password. You have to register an email with that, and then you can log in. So let's click on author login. And I want to start the submission by clicking on submit new manuscript. First, you have to select an article type. And there are, as you can see, several article types. If your article is a research article with methods, results, introduction, discussion, it generally fits under original study. Review articles are review of a topic. It's not a research paper. So if you have that, you can select review paper. Some journals have the randomized trials as a separate category. Sometimes it fits under original study. If you're not sure about the type, you can always go back to the information for authors and you can find the details about that there. So let's select original study and click on proceed. Here you will upload your files. And again, make sure that you're following the journal requirement for the submission, because sometimes they ask you to put all the information in one file, sometimes they want it in separate files. So I prepared here some files for the submission, and I wanted to show you how these look like. The cover letter is a file that you submit with your article, mentioning that you read the instructions for authors and you follow and abide by these instructions. Some authors like to have a summary of their study and their main findings, but that's not always necessary. This is a template. You don't have to follow this template, but this is an acceptable template. Some people like to mention include the logo of the institution on the right here or on the left. Usually they have the name of the editor of this journal, so check who's the editor of this journal and mention their names, then editor-in-chief, the name of the journal, the date. Then you mention something like Dear Doctor and they mention their last name. Please find attached the manuscript entitled and then mention the article name to be considered for publication in, mention the journal name. As I said, some people like to include the summary of the findings. Then mention that you declare that this manuscript is original. Some journals like to have specific wording of this paragraph. Some journals keep it up to the authors. And then you mention something like this manuscript has been approved by all authors before submission, no financial interest. If you have financial interest, you mention that here. If the article has been accepted for presentation or poster presentation, you can also include it in the cover letter. And then you mention the corresponding author information, the name, the degree, which department, institution, the address, email, phone, and fax if the journal asks for that. Tables can be either in the manuscript file or separate file. The manuscript file can be separate from the title page, or it can be in the same file. You can call the file whatever the title of the article is. So if you have the title page in the same file of the manuscript, you start by the title of the article, the author's name, so first, last name, the degrees, and all of the other author's name in the same style. Then the author's affiliation, which department, institution. Running head, sometimes it's mentioned in the first page. It's a short version of the title. The corresponding author information, similar to the ones I showed you in the cover letter. And then you have your manuscript file, which is introduction, methods, results, conclusion. And following that, you have the references. The tables can be in the same manuscript file or separate according to the journal requirement. Here in this journal, they require tables to be in separate file, so we have them in a separate file. But the figure legends, which are description of what the figures entail, there should be in the manuscript file. So you mention figure 1 and what is the figure legend, figure 2, what the figure legend, and you submit the figures as separate files in JPEG usually or PNG. So let's start by attaching the files we have. This is the cover letter. This is the mini abstract, structured abstract. Let's try one supplement, tables, and the manuscript file. And let's go back to the editorial manager. So here you have to mention the item you select from the drop-down list. This is the mini abstract. So we choose from the drop-down list, mini abstract, and we mention that here in the description. This is the structured abstract, so we choose that here again. For the supplement, you have to name this according to what the file is. For example, this is supplementary data file, this is tables, this is the manuscript file, and this is the cover letter. If you notice, there is a star next to certain files, which means these are required for submission. You can't submit the manuscript without these files. But if you notice, there's none next to the tables and figures, which means you can submit a manuscript without tables and figures. And you have to fill these according to the name here. Then they ask you about the region. So for this situation, it's the United States. Because we didn't fill the names on the files, it has red, which means there is something wrong in that section. Some journals ask you to give them suggestions for their viewers because some topics are unique and the journal might find it hard to find reviewers who are expert in that field. And they ask your suggestion for a reviewer, and if you click on add a suggested reviewer, they ask you for the name, first name, last name, and the email. And then you can mention these are the required files. And then you can mention the reason why you're choosing that person and the institution and the degree and position. You click on proceed. They ask you for additional information. These vary between journals, but again, it has similar outline to other journals. And the rest here, I addressed in the prior video about the filling the authorship form, and you can find the information regarding these sections in that video. Here, if you have any additional comments that you want to mention. And the last section covers the main information from the article, like the full title. Sometimes it's filled automatically, sometimes it doesn't. So make sure that everything here is correct. So you can just copy paste that from your article. The keywords, and then the authors of the paper. If you click on add another author, you will have the title, which is, for example, doctor, give first name, last name, the affiliation, email address, and the position. And then you click on save. The author that you want to assign as the corresponding author, just click on their name. This is the corresponding author. You'll see here a note that tells you if you want to continue with this, you will not be able to submit the article because the submission has to come from the corresponding author. So if you're the corresponding author, keep yourself as the corresponding author. If somebody else is the corresponding author, after you're done with the whole submission, everything is green here, go to that author name and click, this is the corresponding author. They will tell you that this author will be the one submitting the manuscript, and you have to click OK. And whenever you click build PDF for approval, it will go to the corresponding author and they will have to click OK in order to submit the manuscript. But if you are the corresponding author, you click build PDF for approval. So a PDF file of all the submission process will be built. You have to read it, review it, make sure that everything is correct. And after you review it, you click on submit. If you want to save and submit later, you can do that, and you can come at later time to fill to continue the submission. That brings us to the end of this episode today. I hope you found this information useful. If you have any questions, you can leave it in the comment under the video. If you like it, subscribe to my channel and follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Malki Assad. Thank you very much for watching, and see you in future episodes.